information. There hasn't been a lot of items on the agenda recently because of the fact that we've been focusing on, with COVID, we've been really focusing on day-to-day operations and making sure things are going well for critical operations. Not that environmental isn't, but we haven't really had an issue that's popped up that's required discussion. We do have a handful of items today, and I hopefully we can get through them today relatively easy. They're very complicated. There are a handful of other people that may join us throughout the evening. But at this time, I'd like to just briefly go. We have 4 discussion points today, no action items on the agenda. So it's really just brief discussions on these items to give you guys some input and ask questions and pass along any information I can. And then we'll call it a night. So at that point, I'll turn it over to the chair, Chair DeBuck.
Hello, everybody. Glad to see everybody could make it. I don't know. I still feel like 100,000 people in a stadium is a good enough reason to start doing regular meetings. So with that being said, I'm going to move on. Okay, I guess. Okay. So we start out taking attendance.
Yes.
It's already done.
Kendall.
Chairman DeBuck,
Here.
Commissioner Ross,
Here.
Commissioner Gibson,
Here.
Commissioner Merritt,
I do not see him on the call.
Commissioner Creel,
Here.
Trustee Boyton.
Yeah. Did you hear me?
Yep.
Oh.
Okay. I'm going to ask for an approval of the agenda as presented tonight.
So move.
Second.
And as we
Okay.
do this, Chair DeBuck, it is a roll call vote.
Okay.
Chairman DeBuck,
Here. Good.
Commissioner Ross,
Good.
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes, good.
Commissioner Creel,
Yes.
Trustee Boyton.
Yes.
Okay, we're done with that. Okay, acceptance for the minutes of the previous meeting. Do we have any adjustments on there?
I found one typo. I don't know. It's not, I mean,
Well, we can bring it up. Where was it at?
under unfinished business, number 2. If you look, I don't know, like 3/4 of the way down, it says Alliance of, I'm guessing it's supposed to be Rouge Communities, and it says rough. I'm guessing it's just an auto correct.
Okay. I see it. 4th line from the bottom on the
Yeah.
2nd page.
Sorry, I mean,
Kendall will make that correction for us as long as you approve the correction.
Okay. I was looking through there and let's see, where did I see that? We were talking about the the trail. They said, okay, 4 of the 12 right-of-ways have been secured and they continue to work on those. Do you want to address that now or later on in the meeting?
Address it in the other items.
Okay, very good. I just read it there and I thought, well, I'm going to ask for an update on that, but okay. So we'll take care of that in the rest of the meeting. So under communication, no, where do I do that, Matt?
It would go under open discussion of other items.
Okay. All right, so. Okay, do we have a motion to accept it with the corrections?
I have a question, I guess, first, if I could.
Yes.
I didn't get email or an attachment with the French Landing master plan. It said that we're supposed to get that before this next meeting. I looked, I never got that.
I will make sure that goes out to you guys and ladies later
Oh,
tomorrow morning, first thing.
okay.
That'd be great.
Thanks.
It's pretty big, so it might have rejected the send. So I'll find a way to make sure it gets sent to you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, can we ask for a acceptance of the minutes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
I support.
Okay. We have that recorded? Good.
Kendall?
Chairman DeBuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes.
Commissioner Creel,
Yes.
Trustee Boyton.
Yes.
Okay, minutes are accepted. Any communications to discuss?
There are no communications other than what's already in the agenda.
Okay. Okay, unfinished business. Nope, okay, nothing in unfinished business. We're gonna move on to new business. We're looking at item number 1. It says Van Buren landfill land EPA cleanup discussion.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this is more of an informational piece than anything else. It's, as you're probably, I would hope, well aware, that at the intersection of E-Course and Michigan Avenue, going along E-Course Road on the north side to Denton Road, we're surrounded kind of on both sides of the GM plant. There are 2 properties owned by, they used to be factory areas during World War II and part of the Willow Run Airport. Those properties were contaminated back then. One of the conditions that the state of Michigan placed on it was it needed to be placed in a trust to ensure cleanup. The Racer Trust Company was founded to do that. And over the last 20 years or 15 years, I think it is, the Racer Trust has been working to clean up these sites and follow all the EPA guidance. And we received a document called the Statement of Basis for the proposed soil and groundwater cleanup at the Racer Van Buren Township landfill at E-Course Road and Route 12 of Van Buren Township, Michigan. So this site is approximately 68 acres. The parcel is heavily wooded. It's zone industrial and operated as a landfill for the businesses around the airport. This area is, the airport is to the south, US 12 lies to the west, railroad tracks on the north, and the GM facility on the east. The property was used for agricultural use in the 40s until 66. Van Buren Township Development Company, not the township, but a company named that, occupied the site from 66 to 69, operating as a sand quarry and a landfill. The property has been vacant since the closure of the landfill since 1969 when GM purchased the land. Environmental remediation activities have been performed by Racer Trust with the approval and oversight of the EPA. There was a settlement that set aside approximately $3.2 million for the cleanup of this property. So as this property was used as a landfill and then closed, it was actually, there were liquid wastes there, 55-gallon drums of crankcase oil were disposed at the site, landfilling of waste also on the site from industrial sites, demolition waste, domestic refuse, incinerator ash from the city of Detroit. In 2003, a pathway was cleared and a perimeter fence was installed to prevent unauthorized entry, and the cleanup planning process began in 2011. Investigations were ongoing till 2017. 25 test pits, 13 soil borings, 12 monitoring wells, and 3 surface water sample areas have been used to characterize the extent and quality of the waste. They've done extensive groundwater investigations. They placed monitoring wells and soil borings to delineate those groundwater pollutants. They've also sampled off-site, and an ecological risk assessment was completed in 2017, which I tried to find a copy of that, and I put in an email to see if I can get a copy of that from Racer, which shouldn't be a problem. And they may be actually, or I will be putting in an email for that. I don't know, they're not here. I invited them, but so all this hard work has put together this ecological risk assessment, and the risk assessment is what has guided the great news that came out in the letter that we got the other day, which is the statement of, and I'll try to keep this as simple as I can. This document called the Statement of Basis from the EPA, which outlines the proposed cleanup that will take place on the site. It goes through the history, environmental investigations, the risk evaluation, the proposed final remedy, and what's going to happen on the site. And it outlines, and this is something that I'm going to share with you tomorrow. It's pretty big, so I didn't want to include it with the agenda meeting because it's the type of reading that it takes a while to get through because it references back and forth in the document. So this is something that it takes some time to absorb. But basically what this cleanup is going to be is, and I'll find the summary here. After reviewing the results of the soil and groundwater sampling, past environmental practices, investigations, and remedial activities, EPA has proposed that Racer Trust establish an engineering and site-wide institutional controls, address the waste that comes out of the ground, that's out of the ground across the site, the surface waste, protect the plants, animals, and other ecological inhabitants, and ensure that current and future users of the site and neighboring properties are not adversely affected or impacted by the contamination that's been left in place. So what this in general means is the EPA has given them guidance on how to prepare their cleanup plan. And so with this, Racer Trust will now develop that cleanup plan and follow the proposed remedy and the final remedy for the site. And I think it's bookmarked, and maybe it isn't. Let's see. No, they didn't bookmark it. In this document, let's just get down to it here. The proposed and final remedies. The 3 remedies are to protect the 3 criteria to protect human health and the environment based on the anticipated land use. Achieve the cleanup objectives to make sure that everything is safe and beneficial use of resources, and control the releases of any future releases of the chemicals. So everything in place. They want to make sure that it's reliable and effective, that reduces the toxicity, mobility, and volume of waste. It's good in the short term, implementable. It's cost effective, that Van Buren Township and the surrounding neighbors accept the remedy, and that the state supports it. So they kind of lay out what the remedy will be in various alternatives, and it allows Racer Trust to now develop the plan. And what we'll see in the future from Racer Trust through the EPA will be a plan showing how they're going to clean up the site, and then it will be approved by both. I believe the township will get a recommendation that we can make, as well as the EPA and the state. And what it sounds like it's going to end up being from reading through this is that the site will be limited to industrial uses. They'll have to cap the site in some way, shape, or form to cover the waste, hold it in place. They'll have to do continuous monitoring to make sure that nothing's getting off the site. No wells will be installed on the properties immediately adjacent to it, which are all industrial sites. There shouldn't be any wells. They're all serviced with water as a safeguard. And they will put together a long-term monitoring plan to make sure the site stays in compliance with the remedy cleanup plan. And I think and Racer will ensure financially that the cleanup is done. So that's the basic summary of this document. It's not the cleanup plan yet. It's the outline for Racer to use to get an approvable cleanup plan. And this is a long time coming. They've been working on this since 2017. And there's 37 pages. We've only gone halfway through. The rest is data and talks about analysis of the alternatives and things of that nature. So this is really the document that Racer will use to develop the plan and send it in to EPA. So this is great news for the township. A site will be cleaned and monitored and long-term and ensured that it's taken care of long-term. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
One of the questions that I have is $3.2 million enough to fix all these issues?
That's just the money that was set aside from the initial trust.
Okay,
Racer has to ensure they have to financially assure the cleanup and to its completion, as well as long-term care of the site. And they can do that in multiple ways. They can find a partner to develop the site who will partner with Racer from now until it changes hands to property owners again. So it under the proposed possible remedies, that's something that is probably going to be non-negotiable.
would this be considered a brown site by the federal government?
It is my understanding that this would be considered a brownfield redevelopment site. And quite frankly, I think it's the first one that I've encountered in Van Buren Township.
So would that come along with some federal monies to help with that? Okay. So we're not just looking at the 3.2, we're looking at possible other avenues to
Potentially, yes.
Okay, because I mean, when you talk about what's put in there in these barrels and stuff, I mean, barrels rot out. I mean, over time, if they haven't already ruptured, I mean, what's the consequence of what the contents are in those?
According to the study and the data that was provided in the statement of basis, there has not been mitigation of the waste from the barrels or the landfill off-site. They're more concerned about groundwater leaving the site with contaminants, and that's why the well monitoring system is being put in.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments or questions?
And I'll just say again that this is a really great thing for the township, that the Racer Trust is such a great partner with the communities that it services. And it will allow for the site to be clean and safe and potentially in the future be developed once the remedy is in place and the long-term monitoring plans are in place. So
Well, I hope everything works out according to that plan. So, okay. So if we don't have any more questions on that one, Mr. Gibson, you have some discussions on the U.S. environmental landfill.
Pardon me?
No, you're up on number 2 for new business.
Oh, yeah. No, are we talking about the land, the toxic, I'm sorry, the U.S. ecology?
Yes, yes, that's it. Yep.
Yes. No, I had called in with the concern that I had noticed that there was a lot of waste that was exposed at the facility. And I noticed that from when I was at the airport during the air show. And I had contacted Matt to find out if they have to cover their waste at night, because I know, like Matt and I discussed, the municipal landfills, they have to cover their waste, each night. So that way it doesn't get blown around. I didn't know if the U.S. Ecology had to cover their waste or not, or what their procedure was. So that's what I'd ask about.
sure. And I went and read through the permits and I asked a few questions. And basically the answer is, this is something I think that we're going to be discussing on our tour that we have on the 22nd. And and the reason for that is it depends on what location you were talking about. There are some sites that are under construction. There are some cells that they're moving encapsulated materials, because the landfill doesn't just put waste in the ground. that the hazardous waste landfill has to encapsulate, solidify, or basically make inert anything they put into the ground. And so some of the sites, as they're constructing or changing or fixing, may not need to be covered. Some of the sites do. And so rather than give you a blanket answer, I think this is a question that as we're touring the landfill, it's best for their representatives to point out some of the differences in how they operate. Because I think there's a lot of, for me, I have really this, Tony, the same questions that you have. When do they have to cover and when do they don't? And there's so much nuance in there about the types of waste and what they do, and so many things in the permit, that it's better for Kerry or one of his staff to give us a direct answer when we're on the tour.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And that's one of the reasons why on September 22nd at 5 o'clock, we'll be meeting, and this is an announcement comment section, but it's appropriate now. We'll be meeting at US Ecology, and those that wish to go to this tour will need to let me know via email that you'll be attending by tomorrow. And I will submit the names to the landfill so that they can be registered as an attendee at the, as you all know, it's a closed environment. So they need to regulate who goes in and out. And anyone is allowed to attend that wants to. I just need to have their names submitted to the US Ecology representatives before Friday. And we'll meet at 5 o'clock. There'll be those that do say they're attending and provide me an email. You'll get directions on where to meet, what time, and who we'll be meeting with and how long we'll be meeting. I have a feeling the tour is probably going to be about an hour and a half, but it won't be longer than that because there's another meeting at 7:30 that night for planning commission that some people will need to be at from this meeting. And so you'll get an opportunity to see everything. We will see Michigan's, there's two facilities there. There's the Michigan disposal facility, which is where they actually do the disposal, which is what you think of as the landfill proper. And then they have a waste processing facility so that when hazardous waste comes in, it's taken indoors, rendered, some liquids are solidified, some liquids, other wastes are encapsulated, sealed, treated, rendered so they can't escape the landfill cell that they're put in. So that facility is also there. So there's two different waste operations going on there. You'll probably get a chance to see them doing disposal. You'll get to see the process area. You'll get to see the new, if it's done, I'm not 100% sure if they're done, the new indoor storage area that was proposed and worked on. And I haven't talked with Kerry since last time, so I'm not sure where they're at with it. But instead of having trucks waiting outside with waste, they bring the vehicles inside and have a place to unload that material so it's not outside, which is a huge improvement in their permit. That was one of their permit changes that they did. And they can also talk about our questions that we have and the future plans in the short term for the landfill, as well as any other questions. So if you are interested in attending, please email myself or Tammy Doring, and we will get you on the list and get you there. So that's that.
We could do a show of hands, or someone just want to express their interest right now. I would, I mean, the 22nd, what day is that?
Next Wednesday.
That's
Oh,
a
next Wednesday.
Matt, I sent you an email. I don't know if you've been.
Yep, I have you on the list already. Peter,
All right.
Don, Ross, Donna. And Donna, you're going to get a chance to introduce yourselves here just in a little bit, so don't worry. Don, Peter, Ross. Tony, you're coming, I'm assuming.
Yes. Oh, yes, I'll be there.
Yep.
Norm,
Yep.
Okay. And then, of course, our secretary Kendall is welcome, and Tammy, I'm sure will be attending as well. Okay. That's that.
Okay. Good. Okay, we did kind of jump ahead to the tour there. Tony, do you have something to discuss on the lakeshore ordinances?
Oh, yeah, no, I just wanted an update on what was going on with the docks there, because I read a letter or an article in the Independent about the the,
YC?
about what? Yeah, about
Yeah.
that. I wanted an update on that.
Sure, be happy to do that. So I have to be a little cautious in what I say and how I say it, because while we did dismiss the charges, there's still an ongoing court action involved in this. So I will bear with me as I'm going to be somewhat general. So in earlier this year, docks were found being installed at the BYC that exceeded and did not comply with the shoreline ordinance for that zoning district, as well as most of the lake rules that were placed in 2017. Permanent docks were being installed, which not only required approval from the township, but also approval from the state. The township brought in the property owner and the contractor and had a discussion about how to proceed and trying to find a way for them to comply with the ordinance through voluntary compliance. The state of Michigan also cited a violation for the lack of a DEQ Eagle permit for the docks, for the permanent docks. They are currently in negotiation with the state of Michigan, and where the township is at with it is our violation notice of the ordinance was dismissed. And that violation notice was dismissed under the order of the judge that the property owner has until November 15th to comply with to see if they can get permission from the state to install what's actually considered under our ordinance and the state law for what they want to do, which would be a marina. So they are currently trying to find out if they can design a site plan to make a marina at that location. And once the state gives us some guidance on whether or not a marina can be attained there through state rules, because it's challenging because the site's extremely narrow and the docks that they want to put out there are extremely wide. And for the number of boat slips that they have, it would be required for them to go a lot further into the lake than is allowed under the ordinance. So if the state says that they have a plan that they would be amenable to, at that point, that process to get a state permit would be paused, and that the plan that would be amenable to the state would then be brought to the planning commission and reviewed for approval. And I'm not saying it would be approved. I'm not saying that the township rules would be changed. All I'm saying is there's no point in having the discussion about doing a marina at that site unless the state would approve it. Because if we approve it and the state doesn't, it's like the cart before the horse, because the rules for the marina are much stricter than the rules for the lakeshore ordinance. And we want to try to find voluntary compliance for all the property owners on the lake. And this is a way for us to try to find that compliance and make it the best for all the property owners on the lake. So currently they have until November 15th to get a yay or a nay on a plan that the state would consider approvable. It won't be a permit yet, but something that they could, and then we'll bring that back to the applicant, which is the property owner of the BYC, would bring that to the planning commission as a request for either, and under the shoreline ordinance, you can ask for a variance that does not have, it doesn't set precedent anywhere else on the lake. So the planning commission and the board of zoning appeals could potentially be involved in approving something there or telling them no. And it's really at this point up to the applicant to take action to see if they can do what they want to do, as it would be for any property owner on the lake. One of the reasons we dismissed the ticket was because once they started working with the state, it became clear that the time frame that the judge needs to operate an orderly court action would not be met. We would keep meeting every month and basically postponing, and that puts the things on the docket that the judge can't act on. And so rather than waste a judge's time, which we don't want to do. We entered into agreement to postpone, the judge ordered him to come back with a plan by November 15th, and if we dismiss the ticket, and that was what was agreed to, and we will continue to work toward compliance with that property owner.
Thank you.
Okay, update on the French Landing Park.
Yes. Exciting things are happening at French Landing Park. We have all but completed the site work that's going on out there. There's some landscape, so basically some earth moving that has to be done. Some fantastic plantings that still need to be put in, and they're in the process of working toward that now. Sidewalks will be poured before the end of the year. We're not sure if we're going to get the sidewalks in time for allowing us to do the landscaping. So the landscaping may be pushed off till the spring, so that the plants have the best chance for survival. But what's really interesting is our pavilion is up, and the pavilion that we selected, people are, I hate to use this term, but it's a giant tent, and it is a permanent canvas structure, and it is as large as our pavilions at Van Buren Park, and it is unique. It is a destination, and it is going to be a really nice place to enjoy the views of the lake and have activities such as yoga by the lake, aerobics, fishing club meetings, Huron River watershed, or Huron River Metro Park, or the Huron Metro Park Bicycling Club could meet there because it's right at the head of the trail going through Lower Huron. There can be all types of activities there. We're also working with our Parks and Rec department to develop activities that can happen there that make that site kind of like the backyard of the cottage of Van Buren Township. So there will be activities that you can on Saturdays and Sundays that we potentially could have. We're working through this now, but some of the ideas are having staff members out there lending out cornhole, horseshoes, giant chessboards, other activities like that you would play in your backyard or your cottage up north. The same, everyone would have a place to go to do those types of activities in Van Buren Township. There'll also be barbecue grills and fishing opportunities there. We're also working to place native plantings along the roadway that are low height. Those low height plantings are in place and they're growing great. There's about another season. By next fall, they should be fully blooming. They won't impact the view shed into the park from the road. So it's going to look fantastic, and you'll be able to see the lake from the road now, which is wonderful. Our new sign was approved by the board, and so the park signs will be installed at that site, our brand new park signs. They're fantastic. And then the last piece is that the Board of Trustees at budget hearings heard a proposal for additional monies to be allocated to a handful of projects that are in excess of what we had planned to do in 2022. These projects will use funds that were scrimped and saved over 2021 and 2020. We had large budget surpluses, and we project a large budget surplus again this year. The board has heard a recommendation and will be considering up to $2.6 million of projects, most of which are in our parks, one of which would be the completion of the French Landing master plan at that site, which would include additional benches, additional activities, and a state-of-the-art, fully brand new walkway fishing area along the shoreline where the current fishing area is on the platform, the deck platform, which would also include a viewing spot that is significantly cool. And I think I showed that before, but if the Board of Trustees decides to approve the budget with those items in it, that work would begin in 2022. And that is the current update.
Matt, can we go and visit that site on our own to see what's happening there?
You can, but it's fenced in for security purposes because there's a giant hole on the site where they found an old cistern from the old property owner that used to own that property. It used to be a cottage there, and the property owner had a cistern for lake water to collect for sprinkler system. And so when that property became parkland, when they did the trade with, I think, the owner of Sandy's Marina, don't quote me on that, the parkland was created, that area was capped and covered over, and during construction we found it. And so we're in the process of digging that cistern out and filling it in when we do the earthwork. So fence, and you can see through the fence, it's chain link, you can see the tent structure, the tent pavilion, and you can see, you can get really close to it actually. And you can see all the improvements that have been done and where the pathways are going to go.
When's
But
that completion date, Matt, can be tentatively?
So we should be done with the earthwork and turf grass planting because we're going to seed the site. Or actually, I think we might even be sodding the site. The installation of sprinklers will all be done. The sod will be put in, and the pavement will be in before the end of the year. And then in 2022, the park sign will be installed. The additional landscaping plantings will be put in, and there is some thought into how we're going to access the remaining amenities that need to be added, especially the boardwalk, the state-of-the-art boardwalk that's going to be put in. That state-of-the-art boardwalk, we believe, will have access. We won't mess anything up from the site. We think we have an access point that we can work with because most of the work will be done from the water rather than the park site. So 2021 for phase 1 and 2022 for phase 2. If phase 2 is approved by the Board of Trustees.
Sounds very exciting, man. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I might just take a drive over and just take a look see. So,
And while I'm talking about the Board of Trustees potentially approving big projects, they've also approved additional work in or have heard and have considered and are going to be considering projects at Riggs Park, which include the maintenance of the native areas by Natural Community Services, who is our native plant expert that we have on staff or have as part of our consultant team to take care of that. It also includes potentially additional pavilions at French Landing or at Van Buren Park. It includes additional work on the Iron Bell Trail and some really neat little things that'll pop up around the township that I think will be a real nice surprise and added and welcomed benefit to the community. So we'll keep you in suspense on some of the little things, but the big stuff is going to be discussed and potentially approved at the board meeting in October.
What about the saddle? How is that coming along?
I am so happy you asked about the saddle. Back when I started at the township in 2015, Ron Akers and I, the former planning director, walked down into that park and said, wow, this is an awesome park. And then we got to the saddle where the two parts of the park, you have to go down into this huge hole in the road, and it was dangerous, unsafe, and people had been trying to fix it for years. And I said, man, if we paved this, they'd put statues up with our names on it. Because it literally is, we thought it would take $500,000 to $750,000 to pave it. And I was blessed with the opportunity to go and look at the finished product early. It is amazing. It has bike paths, it has walking paths, it has 16 feet of safe travel for vehicles. It has a awesome retaining wall and an awesome view of the lake. It connects the front of the park to the back of the park for safe travel in all seasons, although we may close it during icy conditions. But we will be having, if you're interested, stay tuned to the Van Buren Township Facebook page, because there is going to be a grand opening of the saddle and a ribbon cutting that will take place there. The Board of Trustees are going to be inviting the whole community to come out and celebrate this great victory for the township. It is a amazing victory. This opens up Van Buren Township Park to be the premier park that it has the bones for. So it is unbelievable. I'd show you a picture, but that would spoil the grand opening.
Great. Thanks, Matt. You mentioned the Iron Bell, and I know part of that, part of the saddle is the trail for the bikes, which was mentioned earlier in the description here. What the easements, you said there was 4 of 12. Have we made any more progress on that?
We have. I'll back up and say that the section of the trail that comes from Washtenaw County over by, oh no, I'm not going to remember the road, over by McDonald's and Taco Bell over
Snow
there.
Road.
Grove, yes.
Grove, yeah.
So,
That trail where it connects inside the park to the section that we just completed for the saddle, that part, because of COVID, was put on hold. However, it looks like that project will move forward here shortly, being run by our consultant and potentially our partners from Washtenaw County. They have money from the foundation that's doing the donation of money. They have money to do that project. We've paid for the permit, and so and the plans are done. So that section of trail is very simple. Most of it's sidewalk outside, and then it goes into the park, where new trail will be added to connect to the section that we just did, which is from about 1,000 yards from where the saddle it starts to dip down into the valley, and all the way through the other side to where it's the trail dips back into the woods to head toward the bridge that's no longer there over at Van Buren Park that crosses the Edison Lake, what we call Edison Lake, and Belleville Lake. And that trail from there, so there's a project currently being designed for a brand new span bridge, which is very similar to the ones in Ann Arbor and at U of M Dearborn. It has metal on the sides, wood platforms. It's going to be wonderful. Emergency vehicles will be able to drive through it, but really it's for pedestrian and non-motorized access of the park from Denton Road. The third section would be from Denton Road to Belleville, down Denton, across the Belleville Road Bridge. That'll be the last portion that gets fixed or done. That's currently in the design phase with PEA, our consultant.
What bridge, Matt, is that going to go over? Is it going over Denton Road Bridge or?
Denton Road Bridge, yes.
Denton Road Bridge.
And I know right now there's no room, but
Mhm.
that's part of the design.
Okay.
And the other thing is the design will take into account how we manage the weeds along how the county's supposed to manage the weeds there. That will be taken into account when we do design, because Van Buren Township currently takes care of most of the weeds, even though they're not ours. So that's the piece there. The city of
Now,
Belleville.
I'm sorry. Would that potentially be widening that bridge as well?
No, the widening of the bridge would cost way too much money, and I hazard a guess that Wayne County would never, ever, ever do that.
Yeah. So,
but we can find ways to make the walking and pedestrian traffic safer. The section in the city of Belleville they're working on now. The section that has the easements is from the eastern side of the Belleville city border to Riggs Park along Huron River Drive. When we last spoke, I had 4 easements. I now have 10, with 2 more in the hopper from the 2 of the churches. It's a difficult thing to explain, and it's been difficult to meet with people during this COVID pandemic and to get the right people to see it. We are currently working with residents who are still on the fence, as well as some residents who are in opposition of the trail still in front of their property. And we'll continue to work through those issues We have a grant for 300,000 as well as 100,000 in the budget for 2021 that will probably get moved to 2022. But we plan on being able to implement that section of trail in 2022. The next section is from Riggs Park to where the railroad crossing is. The township just entered into an agreement with Norfolk Southern Railroad to design a pedestrian crossing of that railroad along Huron River Drive that would be safe and allowable at grade to allow safe non-motorized pedestrian traffic to go by safely along the roadway. And then there was an article in the paper today that came out that talked about in the Independent that talked about how the Huron River Huron Clinton Metro Parks are going to do the pathway from the park entrance all the way across the bridge to where Haggerty Road is. But that's not my understanding. My understanding is they're going to cross Huron River Drive with a signal light, and then we're going to pick up the rest of it. And that project is being designed right now with PEA and Norfolk Southern Railroad, because that the railroad crossing would be part of that project. So it is a long, tedious process. We probably would have had more sections of the trail done if COVID did not hit. It's not an excuse, but trails aren't quick. They have a lot of moving parts. And in fact, the biggest, and I'm not knocking them, but the biggest impediment right now is Wayne County. As the owner of the road, they have ultimate responsibility to make sure it's safe motorized travel. And they have a lot of rules that they must follow. And they also have a lot of stormwater rules that they must follow, which makes planning a trail like this difficult for us to design and also meet their standards, as well as the fact that trails aren't economic development businesses that they want to get rolling, and those sometimes take priority. So we've been working closely with Wayne County and our consultants to get these things done.
Thank you very much, Matt. Going, I don't even know if I should bring this up or not, but the old Kmart Plaza, is there any word on what might happen there?
So the Kmart Plaza is owned by, and Tammy, I always get this wrong. It's either Shonshek or I think it's Shonshek. They're commercial there's two developers I always get mixed up. We'll just say for argument's sake, it's Shonshek, a commercial developer that also does some industrial buildings. But they do commercial and some multifamily residential style housing. They are currently looking, so they are currently in the process of looking at their options of what they want to do with the property. They are not renewing leases as they come up. So for example, Dunham's closure wasn't because Dunham's was a failing business. Dunham's closure was because their lease was coming up and it wasn't going to be renewed because the owner of the property wants to go in a different direction. And so, not saying that those other businesses are in jeopardy of closing, because Shonshek can that developer makes decisions for themselves. I don't know, but that was what I was told back when Dunham's closed. Multiple types of options have been thrown out by that developer that we talked about. One of them being multi-use, multifamily housing at that location, condos, apartments that has commercial developments in the front and housing along the back. There's also there was a lot of talk of self-storage areas there, which is not as amenable to the township. But all of the work that's being done by that developer, every time they have an idea, they come to the township and they walk it through our staff to get comments, but nothing's been decided. And they could renovate tomorrow if the economy continues to get better, which it looks like it's going to stay right where it's at and keep moving forward. They could renovate renovate the space and open up a unique shopping experience there. It's really up to them at this point as the owner. So that's the best answer I can give you, Commissioner, Chairman.
Would a Kroger fit in that space?
No. Kroger has been approached multiple times by private residents as well as the
Yeah.
township staff. The site is, one, too close to the Whitaker Road site. Two, the number of rooftops that their current market study requires them to have to open up a new store is not enough. And three, the in and out at that location makes it problematic for a shopping center's it's not as attractive place to go to get groceries as a site that's easily accessible.
Okay. Just curious, just wondered.
Yep.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from anyone? Well, with that being said, do we have anyone who will make a motion for an adjournment?
Well, hold on.
Okay.
I wanted to give Miss is it Lavin or Donna? I'd like to give Donna an opportunity to introduce herself. She is going to be with us as long as she wants. Donna, would you like to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about why you're joining us and whatever else? You'll need to unmute yourself. So. Perfect.
Let me apologize for some reason, and I've never seen this on a Zoom meeting before. My camera keeps going in and out in different colors, so I apologize if anybody was
Fine.
freaked out, but I didn't want to change anything during the meeting. I'm Donna Gilkey-Laban, and I'm on the board of directors for the League of Women Voters of Northwest Wayne County, which incorporates a lot of cities: Livonia, Garden City, Inkster, just all the way to the border, including Sumter, Belleville, and Van Buren. And my husband is Manny Laban. He is on the board as well. You will be seeing one or the other of us potentially at most of your meetings for the foreseeable future. And the reason why is the League has what's called the Observer Corps. And all that means is because the League, being a bipartisan, nonpartisan organization, which is really to promote good government, whether it's local, state, federal, etc., is very involved from all those levels. And part of it is from an educational perspective, so that we can talk about what the issues are in our community. We can talk about how communities handle their issues, whether it's in board meetings, commission meetings, school board meetings, governmental, township, city, whatever. We're throughout the community, in all these communities, on different boards. The members get to pick which different kinds of meetings we'd like to go to, because we're not forcing people to do this. We're a volunteer organization. And if we don't pick meetings where we have an interest in what's going on in that particular part of the government, then you're never going to see anybody. And believe me, there's more meetings than there are people. But the environment, I've lived out here for decades. I bought my house in 1980. And I live on Denton Road, right down from the pickleball court, but also right across from we love it. And also right across from the waste management, dump area. So, it's always been with us, and it's something that we've had curiosity about. So, as I said, you will probably see one most of the time, not two, although on the tour, Matt, I think Manny would like to join if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
If it's
He's
not.
more than welcome.
And you didn't hear anything from me, because you shouldn't hear anything from any observer unless we have a clarification question, like we didn't get your name, or we didn't hear what you said, or we didn't quite understand. And all we do is, we jot down notes saying, little things. Did the meeting start on time? Did you get the minutes? etc. Looking at good governmental processes when you're having meetings, but mostly we're there because we're members of your community, and we're interested in what's going on, but you're not going to hear us express an opinion one way or the other about how you do, what you do, etc. We really are just there to observe, to learn, and we do pass along best practices where we see them. And then if there are, and it's very rare, some boards where it appears they're for whatever reason, not from the government, bless you, you know, food fights, grapefruits going across the table, you know, we report that as well. But it stays within our local league, the Northwest Way, unless it's about a topic that the government or Michigan, we have a state as well of Northwest, of League of Women Voters. And then there is a US League of Women Voters. And by the way, you don't have to be a woman to be in the League of Women Voters. So we would welcome any of you participation. You can come to meetings whether you're a member or not, and you can join. We have many men, including Kevin McNamara, who's belongs to the League of Women Voters. So that's why I'm here. Typically we'll wear our badge so that, you know, you're not surprised, and it's not like we're a spy and we're sitting there and we're lurking, you know. No, we're typically just citizens in your community interested in what's going on. So any questions?
Welcome.
Yes, welcome. And we do want your opinions. We value that because, you know, we don't have all the answers here. We're just people just like you are. And we value your expression as far as maybe the way the processes that we have, if they can be approved on, you know, we welcome those. And as far as, you know, ladies, we want the softer side. You know, it's a definite help.
Let me say this. I would not, if you ask for my opinion, I would not speak as a member of the League of Women Voters. I would speak as Donna Gilkey-Lavin, citizen of Van Buren Township.
We would love that.
So any questions, fire away. And Matt, I sent an email. My husband's out this evening at another meeting, but to him to make sure he signed up to get on the tour.
Yep, we'll get you on there. Not a problem.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I apologize for cutting you off at the end there. Be happy to see you here.
We got to get off. I know you guys pride yourself on your timekeeping, so.
Very good. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donna. Okay. With that,
Make a motion to adjourn.
I
Yeah.
second.
Second. We have a first and a second. All in favor or roll call?
Nope, it's just vote. Just
Show of
say it.
hands.
Aye.
Okay. Tony, you're going to give, oh, there you go. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate your time tonight.
Yes. Thank you.